and welcome to the opportunity to put your exhibit together, your National History Day project. Today you're going to come up with a plan. This is Ms. McCarthy, and I was working in museums before I was your teacher, and I hope that you've had the chance to be at a museum that's really transported you to another place. And it's important for you to know that that doesn't happen easily. This is the Children's Museum I worked at before I came to Greendale, and it takes a lot of planning, and that's something I want to help you to do today. Planning is really the key. This is how we're going to do it, and it may not look exactly like this for all of you. You're going to show us your plan, your advisor, by the end of the day, so we can give you feedback. If you're doing an exhibit, it will look something like this. If you're doing a website, you might want to plan it with a document like this, or possibly a web. If you're planning your documentary or your script, or writing a paper, you're still going to need to gather all of this evidence and sort of put together your plan before you really start creating your final product. Alright, so let's look at step one, and that is your title. It doesn't have to be perfect yet. It might be, for example, really basic right now, just the fall of the Berlin Wall. Then you get a little more creative. Finally, you want to come up with a title that's really going to get your point across. This whole project is really one big argument, and you're trying to prove that what you think about history is right. Next is your thesis statement. It needs to be really easy to find. Please don't make us search for it. Other things to think about is that it should be strong and arguable. It needs to be something you can defend with evidence. That's really what your whole project is about, is the evidence. And finally, does it end with a so what, which tells us the legacy in history, sometimes going all the way up to today, but not always up to current events. And this thesis statement would do that. Alright, number 3 is going to be the background. Use the background paragraph you wrote in December. How can you prove that rights were being violated, or responsibility was taken, or something along those lines? The theme this year is rights and responsibilities. You need to start working that in at the very beginning. Establish what rights were there, what rights weren't there, what responsibility was there or wasn't there from the beginning. Think about a primary source that's going to make the strongest impact here. Is it photos? Is it statistics? Is there a great letter that can speak for you? Because remember, in an exhibit, you only have 500 words. You have a word limit in all categories. Next is the build-up. Who is involved in the change that was happening? History is people. So you're going to have people that you need to introduce to us. In this case, Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev were the leaders. What events led up to the change that happened? So is there a timeline you want to include? Not every project needs a timeline, but in this case, this would be a good way to get that across. And what primary source is going to make the strongest impact and really get the idea that something is coming, something is building up? I know there's great quotes and images of Ronald Reagan in front of the Berlin Wall, so I thought that would be an example for this one. Next is the main event. This is the part that you know the most about. You're going to tell us what happened, but be sure you're also telling us when it happened and why did it happen then. Tell us where this event happened and why did it happen there. Sometimes it's important to know who was there but also who wasn't there. That can be significant. And then how did people in the moment respond? What were people's thoughts as it was happening? What did they say about it? What did they write about it? What were they quoted as saying in newspapers at the time? And so choose, powerful images, other primary sources that are going to tell that story without you having to say it in your own words. Let the past speak for itself. Finally, we're getting to the impact, and that is going to be your short-term impact. Think about the next day or the month after something happened. What changed? How was the world different? Some examples are people being united. Were people arrested? Were there new opportunities? Were people inspired? Think about the images in this case that are going to contrast with what you showed us as the before something happened. In some cases, there might be an image you want to show that shows that nothing really happened. For example, when Rosa Parks was arrested, the next day the buses weren't integrated. There was a lot of waiting that took place, but you would want to show the people who were inspired by her the actions they took and how over time rights were given. Finally is your historical significance. This is where you show us why your topic is important. You tell us how it is impacting us today, if at all possible. What do you really want me to take away from your project? What's a final parting thought? This is the conclusion of your project. Don't leave this off. It needs to be there. And so now you have a plan. You can review this video at any time. You need to think about, before you turn in your plan, what are you missing? You should divide up those tasks between your group members, or if you're working alone, make sure you have a timeline for accomplishing all of these tasks before your project is turned in next Friday.